Heartwarming CFO discovers single mom returning baby formula. His inspiring act of kindness changes everything. Jack had always been the go-getter, the ambitious CFO who climbed the corporate ladder with relentless determination. Yet, as he strolled through the bustling aisles of his hometown grocery store one sunny afternoon, something felt off. It was quieter than usual. The buzz of community connection that had once surrounded him was fading, as if his success had created an invisible wall. While scanning the shelves, his gaze fell upon a harrowing scene. A single mother, Sarah, stood at the checkout, anxiety etched across her face as she clutched a can of baby formula. The cashier's probing questions hung heavily in the air, each word more suffocating than the last. "Ma'am, is there a problem?" the cashier asked, concern in her voice. Sarah's lips quivered, and her eyes filled with unshed tears. "It's just," she started, choking on the pride that clung to her like a heavy coat. "It's too much. I didn't know this would cost so much." Jack's heart raced. He felt a sensation deep in his chest, a tightening, an overwhelming empathy pulling him closer to Sarah's struggle. He was reminded of the values his parents had instilled in him: work hard, support your family, be a person of honor. But here he was, beneath the fluorescent lights, witnessing how the American dream often left others stranded in the dust. Compelled by a force he couldn't ignore, Jack stepped forward, breaking through the barrier that wealth had built between them. "I'll cover it," he said, his voice steady yet soft. The moment their eyes met, a spark ignited. Sarah's uncertainty flickered briefly into gratitude. You don't have to," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, I do," he replied, smiling gently. Their brief interaction was a powerful bolt, awakening a need within him to understand her story. Who was this woman struggling alone, and what hurdles had led her to this moment? For days afterwards, Jack dove into Sarah's world. He learned about her exhausting hours juggling multiple jobs, the isolation of single motherhood, and the suffocating weight of bills and responsibilities. With every revelation, a pang of guilt hit him, calling into question the success he once measured in earnings and accolades. As he reflected on her struggles, he felt an urgent desire to help, a drive to ignite change. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. Fueled by this newfound purpose, Jack organized a fundraiser aimed at providing support to single parents like Sarah, people fighting against overwhelming odds. But fear gnawed him. Would his corporate image overshadow his genuine intentions? His self-doubt swirled like fog in his mind. Yet, an undeniable truth rooted itself in his heart. The community needed unity. As the date of the fundraiser approached, Jack faced conflicts that tested his resolve. Would the people he once regarded as colleagues judge him for wanting to step outside his corporate fortress? And yet, standing before a hall filled with familiar faces, he felt a warmth of hope rise within him. Tomorrow would define not just his path, but the very soul of his community. All eyes turned towards him, including Sarah's, filled with shimmering hope. Would he rise to the occasion, or would his insecurities swallow him whole? The room pulsed with anticipation, each heartbeat resonating with the promise of change, and the question hung in the air, waiting for answers. The morning of the fundraiser dawned bright and clear, yet Jack felt a heaviness settle deep within his chest. The smell of fresh coffee wafted through the air, mingling with the faint notes of anxiety that seemed to cling to him. He arrived early at the community center, the venue buzzing with activity as volunteers set up tables and decorated with balloons. Jack paced around the hall, his eyes scanning the sea of faces: friends, family, colleagues, and strangers. Who would show up? Would they understand his intentions? The lingering doubt tried to anchor him to the ground, but he forced himself to remember why he was doing this. He thought of Sarah and the countless others like her, pushing back against life as unforgiving tides. A few familiar faces approached him, their smiles warm, but he felt an unsettling tension looming. "Jack! What a great turnout!" one of his colleagues exclaimed, though Jack could sense the confusion behind the cheer. They accepted his ambition, but not this new mission. He could almost hear the whispers of skepticism. As the clock ticked closer to the start time, Jack took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. "We're doing this for them," he reminded himself. When the event began, Jack took the stage, his heart pounding in sync with the murmur of the crowd. With every step he took, insecurities and fears battled for precedence in his mind. But when he looked out at the gathering, he saw Sarah, her smile radiant in the crowd, like a beacon amidst the hundreds. She nodded encouragingly before he began to speak. "Thank you all for being here," he started, voice steadying as he felt Sarah's presence anchoring him. "We're not just raising funds today, we're raising hope." He went on to share Sarah's story, weaving her struggles with passion, highlighting the sheer weight of what single parents faced every day. The atmosphere shifted. Empathy transformed the audience's initial skepticism into warmth. As Jack spoke, he felt strength building inside him, feeding off the openness of the crowd. From the corners of the room, soft sobs echoed as parents nodded in understanding, the shared experiences weaving them together. At the crescendo of his speech, he announced their goal: a significant sum to start a community support program aimed at providing resources and assistance to single parents who desperately needed it. "We can make a difference together," he urged, his voice rising above the murmurs. Cheering erupted as he concluded, and hope seemed to spill into the room like sunlight. But just as the applause began to fade, a voice called out from the back, thick with skepticism. "That sounds great, Jack, but how far will that really go? What are you planning to actually do?" A wave of anxiety washed over him. The question loomed large, challenging the goodwill that had filled the air just moments ago. He opened his mouth, ready to defend his vision, but paused as he connected with Sarah's gaze. She understood the hardship she'd lived them. The room fell silent, all eyes on him. In that moment, he realized that the depth of the response he sought could not be articulated. It required action and commitment, not just from him, but from the community. "I promise to show you how," he finally replied, his voice steady. "This is just the beginning. We will walk this path together." As the audience erupted into applause once more, Jack's spirit soared. But in the depths of his gut, he felt the weight of the promise he had made. Would the community unite behind him and Sarah? Could hope truly blossom from this endeavor? As the event progressed, the buzz of excitement filled the space, but there was still an undercurrent of doubt swirling beneath. Jack couldn't shake the feeling that the real test was just beginning. Would they uphold their commitment, or would it dissolve like sugar in water? Stepping off the stage, Jack caught Sarah's eye. Her smile was bright, but there was also a question reflected back: what next? He had opened the door, but would they walk through it together? The certainty of their next step began to feel like a fragile thread, one that might just snap under the pressure. Jack took a deep breath, knowing the journey ahead would be anything but easy. Yet, as the crowd began to mingle and share stories of their lives, he felt a glimmer of hope ignite anew. Could this be the start of a real change? Would they find a way to support one another, or would fear pull them apart? The answers, he knew, were just around the corner, waiting to unfold. As the afternoon wore on, the community center thrummed with life. Laughter and conversation filled the air, mingling with the warm aroma of homemade dishes laid out on tables. Jack watched as families connected, sharing stories that bounced around the room like echoes. A part of him swelled with pride. The event was alive, and it felt promising. However, lurking beneath the surface was an anxiety that clawed at him. He had made a promise to show them how they could help, but how exactly would he fulfill that? Those doubts crept back in, twisting the hope he had felt moments before into something fragile. Sarah stepped beside him, offering a reassuring touch on his arm. "You did it, Jack. They're with you," she said softly, her voice a balm to his restless heart. Yet, even her presence couldn't fully chase away the dread weighing him down. "I hope so," Jack replied, glancing around. I want to make sure it's real. That we can actually support everyone the way they need." His voice dropped almost to a whisper, the words heavy with the burden of his intentions. "Let us make it real together," Sarah urged, her eyes sparkling with determination. "But first, let us meet some of them. You'll see the impact you've already made." With renewed purpose, Jack nodded, and together they moved through the crowd, engaging in small talk, exchanging laughs, and listening to stories. One after another, parents stepped forward, sharing personal anecdotes that knotted Jack's heart. Their struggles were real, their courage undeniable. A mother with tired eyes recounted how difficult days at work left her too exhausted to play with her kids. A father spoke of the relentless balance between bills and groceries, and how every financial setback felt like a blow to his dignity. Jack's heart ached for them, yet a familiar spark of determination flared within him. As they continued, Jack noticed a boy playing in a corner, a toddler with a floppy brown hat and a gentle laugh that shimmered like sunlight. Yet, as Jack watched, he noticed the little boy's mother was hesitant to join in the community buzz, her eyes casting down when shared a laugh with others. A sharp pang of recognition hit Jack. He remembered Sarah in her darker moments. "Excuse me, Sarah," Jack said suddenly, his pulse quickening. "Can we go talk to that mother over there?" He pointed toward the hesitant figure. "Of course," Sarah agreed, a knowing smile spreading across her face as they approached. "Hi there," Jack offered, his tone warm but careful. "I'm Jack. I noticed you seemed a bit apart. Is everything okay?" The woman looked up, her gaze filled with the weight of unspoken burdens. "It's just overwhelming sometimes," she confessed, her voice shaking. "I want to be part of this community," but she hesitated, the words caught in her throat. "It can feel so isolating." An understanding washed over Jack. "You're not alone," he said, his voice steady. "We're starting a program, and I promise we're working hard to create a space where everyone can feel welcome and supported." The thankful smile that slowly spread across her face filled Jack with hope. It was one moment, small yet significant. It was a glimpse into the difference the community could make. Jack turned to Sarah, who beamed back at him. They could do this together. Yet, just as the warmth started to fill the room with promise, another voice rose from across the hall. A man with folded arms stood defiantly. "This all sounds lovely, but what happens when the novelty wears off? Will you really follow through?" Doubts echoed through the crowd, and Jack felt that familiar weight settle back into his chest. Could they truly ignite lasting change? How would he prove to everyone that this was more than just a fleeting moment of kindness? With every question posed, Jack felt the crowd leaning in, seeking answers. The stakes had grown taller, and he realized now the real challenge had just begun. Can we hold on to this hope? Jack wondered silently, fear gnawing at the edges of his newfound determination. What awaited them on the horizon, and would it be the support the community longed for, or would it crumble under pressure? He glanced at Sarah for strength. They were in this together, but would everyone else join them? With every breath, Jack felt the weight of expectation and invitation to dig deeper and muster the resolve to turn their dreams into reality. The tension hung in the air like a thick fog, the challenge ahead looming larger than Jack had anticipated. The man's voice faded into the murmur of the community center, But Jack's mind raced. What could he say? Was there a way to assuage the anxiety buzzing among the crowd? Feeling Sarah's encouraging presence by his side, Jack took a deep breath. "You're right," he said, his voice gaining strength. "It's easy to say we want to help, but true support takes consistent effort. That's what we're committed to, a sustained, genuine connection." The crowd shifted, eyes darting between Jack and the man who had thrown down the gauntlet. The murmurs of doubt persisted like uneasy whispers, each one turning the atmosphere from lively to contemplative. Yet, instead of retreating, Jack pressed on. He had seen the impact of connection. He was determined to bring the energy back. "I was talking to a mother over there before." Jack gestured toward the woman who had shared her overwhelming feelings. "She feels isolated, as many of us do at times. And that's the very reason we're here today, to change that." Slowly, a more positive vibe emanated from his words. People leaned in, some nodding in agreement. Jack recognized this was the moment. He had to channel the shared experiences of the community, harness their power, and lift it back to hope. "Why don't we gather stories?" Jack continued, igniting a flicker of interest. "Share what really matters to you all. We can hear from each other. This isn't just about me, it's about us. Together, we can create solutions you need. We'll document these stories, discuss tangible steps, and build a system focused on your needs." It's a promise to keep the conversation alive, even when the flurry of an event dies down. The man crossed his arms, but his expression softened slightly, the challenge shifting to intrigue. Sarah's eyes sparkled with a blend of pride and admiration. Just a little push, and they'd tap into the hearts of those in the room. "Let us create a space here," Jack stated, "where everyone can feel valued and supported. Whether it's about parenting, juggling work, or simply helping each other through tough times, let us build bridges." The shift was palpable. Heads nodded more vigorously, and whispers grew passionate. Jack felt the weight lift slightly, though he knew they still had a long journey ahead. "But can we really do this?" Another voice piped up from a corner, a woman clutching a baby on her hip. "What if we fall short?" Jack met her gaze, the case of doubt turning into a personal one. "It's okay to be afraid," he admitted. "But facing these fears together, holding each other accountable, that's how we grow. We might not get it right every time, but we can learn from our missteps. We have to lean on one another." The murmur swelled with resonance. Was this the flicker of hope he had sought? Could they penetrate through moments of despair and reshape their community? Pledge to share our worries, to lean on one another, not just today but every day that follows. Jack urged, his heart racing with anticipation. That way, it won't just be a fad, it will be the network that holds us together. The energy in the room surged. Voices amplified, excitement brewing as connections sparked like wildfire. Jack couldn't help but smile as he looked around. This was not just a fleeting moment. They were rising together, igniting the start of something meaningful. Yet, even with the energy buoying him, Jack could feel the shadows still lurking at the edges of his mind. What if the fleeting hope turned into despair after the excitement died down? He needed a game plan, something more than just wishes. As he pulled Sarah into a side conversation, a question bubbled to the surface. Are we prepared for what is coming, all the ups and downs? Jack's heart pounded in his chest. With every uncertain beat, an unexpected resolve formed within him. Could he gather enough courage to face these tomorrow's fears? And just as they spoke, a sudden Johnny-come-lately rushed through the door, breathless and urgent. You guys have to hear this. You won't believe what just happened. What could it possibly be? Jack turned, curiosity sparking a new flame within him. What awaited them at that moment? Would it solidify the trust and hope building in the room, or would it test everything they'd just begun? As the newcomer caught his breath, Jack felt the room hush, curiosity hanging like a tightrope. There was something electric about the urgency in the stranger's eyes. "What is it?" someone shouted from the back, a hint of nervous excitement lacing her words. Jack's heart raced in sync with the woman's tone. He glanced at Sarah, who wore an expression of eager anticipation. They all sensed that what this man had to say might change everything. "There's a mother in the parking lot," he began, still gasping for air. "She just pulled in, and she is taking baby formula back to the store. She is in tears. She said she can't afford it anymore. They cut her hours at work, and she just doesn't know what to do." A ripple of emotion rolled through the crowd. Jack could see the frowns, the faces twisting in empathy. This wasn't just someone else's problem. It felt personal, as if each heart in the room could hear the silent cries of mothers everywhere. "Let us go," Jack said, the words spilling from him in a rush. "We need to help her." He turned to Sarah and the others standing by, a sense of purpose igniting his soul. "If we're going to create a network, a community that truly cares, it starts right now. Let us show her we mean it." The warmth of determination spread. People began to stand, gathering their belongings, their earlier worries forgotten. Jack felt emboldened by their willingness to act, a unity forming even in chaos. This was the real test of their resolve. As they pushed through the doors into the crisp air, Jack's mind swirled with thoughts about the impact they could have. What if they had enough resources to rally around this mother? What if their community became a haven for families like hers? He could envision a possibility where connections didn't just stay in the safe confines of the community center, but spilled out to neighborhoods, supermarkets, even schools. The parking lot came into view, tension thickening again. Jack spotted a woman squatting beside her car, her face buried in her hands. A few feet away, a toddler sat strapped in a car seat, small fists balled tight. Jack's heart sank, resonating with heartbreak. "Excuse me," he said gently, stepping closer. The woman looked up, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I heard what happened," he said softly. "I'm Jack, and this is my community. We want to help you." The woman blinked in surprise, confusion flickering across her face. Jack sensed the wall she had built around her heart. She was used to being alone in her struggles, and now here he was, a stranger offering to help. "What could you possibly do?" she murmured, the defeat palpable in her voice. Jack couldn't just let her doubts linger. "We can start here. We can help ensure that you're not alone in this." He gestured back at the group, now gathered behind him, a small army of empathy. More murmurs rose in the crowd, as others stepped forward, ready to bridge the gap between despair and hope. "We can organize resources," Sarah added, excitement bubbling in her voice. "We can help you with food, support, whatever you need." Jack locked his gaze with the woman, determination bursting. "Together we'll find a way. You don't have to go through this alone. We'll take on today's struggles together and lift each other up." The woman's apprehension started to fade, replaced with a glimmer of trust. He saw her lips begin to tremble, unsure whether to smile or cry. Jack wanted desperately to spark that hope fully in her eyes. But as they stood there, ready to change a life, a figure moved from the side, confronting them. Jack's heart sank again, uncertainty creeping back. It was another man, angry and defensive. "You can't help her. Just back off." Tension escalated. What would happen next? Would they allow fear to silence them? Would this community rise beyond their challenges? Jack couldn't turn back now. His voice steadied, "Watch us." Jack took a deep breath, grounding himself against the weight of the moment. The anger radiating from the stranger loomed in the air, thick and charged. He glanced over at the woman with the child, seeing her hesitation a blend of fear and hope. Her eyes darted between Jack and the angry man, as if seeking reassurance. "Look, we're not here to cause trouble," Jack replied, trying to keep his voice calm. The others shifted behind him, unsure how to proceed. He could feel Sarah's presence, her steady gaze lending him strength. What do you know about her? The man shot back, arms crossed defiantly. How can you even understand what she is going through? Jack felt a familiar fire ignite inside him. You're right, he said, taking a step forward. I can't fully understand. But we can listen. We can care. That's what community is about. The man didn't budge. Fury etched into his features. What the hell do you think you can do with a bunch of feel-good words? That's not gonna fix anything. From the corner of his vision, he noticed the woman stiffen, her grip tightening around her car door. Jack's heart raced, not from fear, but from a rising conviction. Maybe it starts with words, he replied, meeting the man's gaze with unwavering resolve. Maybe it begins with standing up. Maybe it's recognizing we all have struggles. I see you. I see her. I see all of us. That's how we take steps forward. A stir moved through the crowd as more people rustled close, their expressions revealing a mixture of concern and support. Jack could sense their energy, shifting from passive spectators to active participants. It was an unspoken agreement forming behind him, a collective heartbeat of determination. Suddenly, a voice from the back broke the tension. What can we do? An elderly man called out, his voice steady and warm. I might be retired, but I have time. We can organize a food drive, hold community gatherings. A wave of murmurs followed, ideas igniting like sparks through the assembly. People began gesturing, dreaming aloud about resources, connections, and realistic plans that could make a difference. The angry man's stance visibly faltered as the enthusiasm around them swelled, and Jack couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. The woman finally spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. I can't believe anyone would care. I'm so lost. Then let us help you. Sarah jumped in, stepping out from behind Jack. Her eyes softened with sincerity. You don't have to face this alone anymore. You've got a whole community behind you. At that moment, the little boy in the car shifted, reaching out to his mother. The woman's heart, so weighed down by worry, began to flutter with something new possibility. There was a vulnerability in her stance, now mingling with a spark of trust as she lifted her gaze back to Jack. And what if I say yes? She asked, her voice trembling, yet brimming with hope. Jack smiled, a genuine smile. Then together, we'll take this one step at a time. You deserve support, and you've got people who care here. Just as relief swept through the group, the man who had challenged them took a few steps back, his demeanor softening but still keyed up. Jack noticed the struggle on his face. Before Jack could speak again, the man finally sighed, fine. But don't think it'll be enough. You're going to need a lot more than just words. And with that, a sobering reality hung in the air, settling among them like a challenge. Was this just the beginning, or did they have the will to sustain their newfound mission? As they stood, unified in purpose but uncertain of what lay ahead, Jack felt the pulse of determination echo in their hearts. Then we'll find a way, he declared, looking at each face, seeing the strength there. But first, let us start with our promise to her. With that, Jack turned back to the woman, ready to extend his hand to her and bridge the gap between courage and despair. Would they rise to truly meet the challenge poised before them? Jack extended his hand, feeling the weight of expectation in the air. The woman hesitated, glancing down at her son, who was now tugging at her sleeve, as if sensing the moment's significance. I don't know, she finally whispered, her brow furrowing. I just need to know I can trust you. The crowd around them was silent, eyes fixated on her. Jack's heart raced. You can, he said, voice steady. We're just regular people who want to do something good. All we need is a chance. Slowly, her gaze lifted to meet his, tears glistening in her eyes. She took a breath, almost as if steeling herself. Okay, she said, the word barely escaping her lips, but resonating with determination. Sarah smiled, beaming encouragement that spread like warmth throughout the group. Together, we'll figure this out. One step at a time. As the crowd erupted in supportive murmurs, the woman finally grasped Jack's outstretched hand, their fingers locking together in an unbreakable bond. The small boy watched curiously, as if sensing the shift in his mother's spirit. The air around them felt charged, a ripple of something beautiful taking shape. Hope. Community. Resilience. Suddenly, the angry man from earlier stepped forward, uncertainty flashing across his face. Look, I don't know what I can contribute, but if you're really serious about this, I can help too. Jack's eyes widened, surprise mixing with gratitude. That's great. What do you have in mind? I've got a truck, he said, shoulders relaxing a fraction. We could run errands, pick up supplies for the food drive. A collective breath of relief echoed through the crowd. Jack felt a smile creeping up as more people began to step forward, sharing their own ideas and suggestions. Someone offered to set up a community Facebook page to connect everyone. Another said he'd bring his grill for a barbecue to raise funds. It was like watching a tapestry being woven, each thread representing individual strengths coming together. The woman's face shifted, visible warmth spreading across her features. You're all serious about this? Absolutely. Sarah chimed in. We're all in this together. You've already shown us what is possible by saying yes. As excitement flourished, Jack watched the transformation happen. The woman began sharing what she needed not just for her, but for others in her situation. Each word added weight to the gathering purpose. The cycle was shifting, compassion blossoming in every direction. But it was not without its shadows. The angry man, still absorbing the unfolding scene, lingered at the edge. Jack could see the inner conflict etched across his brow. Maybe he didn't believe in community the way they did. Maybe he was still grappling with the pain that had brought him here. Hey, Jack called out, raising his voice to bridge the gap. Your help matters, remember that. Whatever you've been through, we want to work with you. Be a part of this. The man hesitated, searching for his words. I'm just scared it won't work. Jack stepped forward, heart squeezing at the vulnerability laid bare. We're all scared. That's why we need each other. So we won't be afraid alone. A flicker of something passed through the man's eyes. Jack didn't know if it was hope or doubt, but for the first time, he sensed a connection beyond anger. Perhaps they all felt the fragile threads of change knitting them tighter together. As the sun dipped low in the sky, painting the horizon orange, Jack felt a powerful force building, the kind of energy that could ignite something transformative. They all stood at the doorway of something big. It wasn't just about helping one woman anymore. It was about pulling a community out of the shadows. As they laid plans, the night creeping closer, Jack's heart felt lighter than it had in a long time. But with every step forward, the question lingered in the air: was this newfound hope strong enough to weather the storms ahead? With that uncertainty thriving, Jack took a deep breath. Tomorrow would bring its own battles and triumphs. Would they be ready to confront the challenges that loomed just beyond the horizon? The next morning dawned breezy and golden, a refreshing change after a long, restless night. Jack woke early, the excitement buzzing in his veins like electricity. He could already hear voices gathering outside as neighbors converged, eager to take part in the mission they had unified around. Jack rushed through his usual routine, his thoughts swirling with ideas. Today was not just another day. It was the beginning of something important. By the time he stepped outside, the sun gleamed brightly over the horizon, and the air felt brimming with potential. Sarah was already there, her notebook in hand, brainstorming ideas with a small group. Jack felt an immediate warm swell in his chest as he approached them. "What is the game plan?" he asked, the lightness in his tone infectious. We're trying to figure out the best way to reach out to the community for donations, Sarah explained, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. And I think we should start by knocking on doors and letting people know we're here to help, not just for today but for the long haul. That sounds perfect, Jack replied, considering the ripple effect of their actions. If we get people involved now, they'll feel invested. It'll create a sense of belonging. As they talked strategy, the angry man from the day before emerged hesitantly from behind a nearby car. I'm in, he stammered, his voice rough but unwavering. Jack's heart leaped. Really? That's great. What made you change your mind? The man scratched his head, eyes flicking to the ground. I've been through a lot. I guess I thought I'd just be a burden. But I could use something to believe in. His admission felt like a fragile thread, barely hanging on yet connecting them all. Jack offered a supportive nod. You won, TB. Together, we're stronger. It's not just about you, it's about all of us. We're in this together. Sarah, sensing the moment's importance, spoke up. Let us go out and meet people. Share our vision. She rallied the small group with an infectious determination, and soon they were on their way, a swarm of enthusiasm spreading through the neighborhood. Door after door opened, revealing warm smiles, curious faces, and even increased odd looks. But as they shared their mission, the energy in the air thickened with the promise of togetherness. Conversations blossomed as they jingled change cups and handed out flyers, the hope rippling outward. Jack watched as two kids joined them, their innocent enthusiasm injecting energy into the group. They carried paper bags filled with spare change and other items they wanted to donate, enveloped in an eagerness that reminded him how powerful unity could be. But as they reached a more rundown section of the neighborhood, Jack felt a shift. The energy waned a bit, the doors responding with silence rather than warmth. Continued knocks were met with shrugs or averted gazes, the skepticism weighing thick in the air. Maybe it's not worth it, the angry man muttered, the lines of doubt creeping back into his face. These people probably don't trust us. Jack turned to him, his own heart panting with the weight of those unreturned smiles. Trust is earned, he replied, firm yet soft. Every no brings us closer to a yes. You think so? The man asked, skepticism brightening his expression. I know so, Jack said, determination firming in his voice. We just have to keep going, and one day, they'll join us too. But deep down, Jack's words felt fragile, as though they could be swept away by a gust of wind. Could they really find a way to bridge the divides that had been built so tightly over the years? As they turned to move to the next house, Jack caught sight of a woman watching them from her porch, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Her presence felt like a pivotal moment, the kind where barriers could either shatter or deepen. What would she think of their efforts? Would she join them or shut the door even before they had a chance? With each step they took, Jack felt the heart of their mission beating stronger. It thrived on hope, but was also marred by the very real fears and doubts of the community. They were pushing boundaries together, inching towards something bigger than all of them. But what if that pivotal moment, right there on that porch, could either spark change or shut it down for good? Jack's heart raced. The next door could change everything. Jack approached the porch, the tension in the air thick enough to cut with a knife. The woman standing before him had an air of quiet authority, her arms crossed defensively over her chest. She seemed to embody the weight of the neighborhood's struggles etched into her weathered features. Hi there, I'm Jack, he began, flashing his best smile, hoping to ignite some warmth. We're reaching out to the community to help with our new initiative. We're trying to gather support for those in need. Her gaze remained unyielding, a barrier he struggled to penetrate. What kind of support? She asked, her voice steady but guarded. We're collecting food, clothing, and funds for families who are facing tough times, he explained, gesturing toward the group behind him. "Every little bit helps, and we'd love for you to be a part of it." A hesitant furrow appeared between her brows as she looked over at the people he'd drawn together. Some chatted enthusiastically with neighbors, others busily jotting notes on their clipboards. Jack could see the flicker of skepticism glinting in her eyes. "And what makes you think that it'll work?" she shot back, faced with the possibility that was all too real for her. "You can't just sweep in here with your hopes and think it'll change everything." Jack could feel his heart hammering. He knew he had to tread carefully. "I understand," he said slowly, pulling sincerity from his core. "But we have to start somewhere. Trust takes time, and we're ready to put in the effort." For a fleeting moment, her arms dropped to her sides, and vulnerability shimmered in her expressions. "It's just you don't know what it's like around here. We've been let down before." "Then let us show you we're different," Jack urged. "This isn't a one-time thing. We want to build a community where we can all count on each other. Together, we can make a real change." The unyielding space between them felt electric, and Jack sensed he was on the cusp of something important. He needed to break the cycle of doubt. What if we could challenge that feeling of hopelessness together? You'd be making it easier for everyone, including yourself. Several seconds passed, a silent eternity. Then, slowly, her face softened just a fraction, a hesitant spark breaking through the layers of distrust. "Okay, what do you need?" Jack's pulse quickened, hope spilling into his heart. "We're gathering non-perishable food items, diapers, anything that can help families. If you can share or contribute anything." Suddenly, the moment was interrupted by a child's shrill voice nearby, cutting through the tension like a breath of fresh air. One of the kids from their group had wandered off a little too far. Jack turned just in time to see him stumble and fall, the collected change clattering across the sidewalk. Before he could react, the woman leaped off her porch. Without hesitation, she rushed to the child, kneeling beside him. "Hey buddy, you all right?" Her tone now warm and comforting. Jack watched, captivated. The boy nodded, rubbing his knee. "I'm okay." As the woman helped him collect the scattered coins, Jack felt a smile spreading across his face. This was the sort of humanity he hoped to spark, connections forming unexpectedly, barriers chipping away in the most humble of moments. Once the child was up and running back toward the group with a grin, the woman returned to where Jack stood, the defensive barrier still lingering but less rigid now. Maybe I can help," she said, her expression softening further. Jack's heart soared. "That would mean so much," he replied, feeling energizing waves of possibility. They exchanged numbers to connect, ideas buzzing alive between them. But as Jack turned away, his optimism mixed with unease. Why had she been so hesitant? What had happened that made her shield her heart? As they moved through the neighborhood, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were reaching deeper than just the surface. Perhaps those emotional demons could be confronted. The sun hung low in the sky, painting the street with a soft, golden hue. There was still so much work ahead, and while this was a small victory, he knew they weren't done. The journey to trust was long, but they had taken an important step. What other challenges lay ahead? Would the next encounter break barriers or reinforce them? The sun bathed the community center in a warm, golden glow as Jack gathered with Sarah and the others. The energy crackled like electricity. They were ready to transform lives. Jack could sense that change was in the air. Today was not just another day. It was the start of something bold and beautiful. Jack had spent restless nights crafting a plan, weaving the stories he had heard into something actionable, something that could guide them all toward hope. As they convened, Sarah's eyes sparkled with excitement, her spirit igniting everyone around her. "Let us begin with our first community outreach event," she announced, holding up a flyer. "We want to invite everyone to come share their stories, some food, some love, some laughter. We can create support systems right here." Nods of agreement were shared, smiles blossomed, and Jack felt that old familiar sense of fear creep back in. What if people didn't show up? What if this enthusiasm fizzled out like a candle left unattended? But the hushed murmurs of anxious thoughts dissipated when he looked around at the faces, the hope burning bright in their eyes. When the realization hit him, this wasn't just about him leading the charge. They were all in it together. A wave of warmth engulfed him. "Let us make personal invitations for our neighbors," Jake suggested, that glimmer of determination twisting in his gut. "We can knock on doors together, show them how much we care. It's our community too." With a renewed spark, they divided into groups, each person armed with flyers and conversations bursting at the seams. Jack watched as the neighborhood opened up like a flower, and he felt pride swell in his chest. As they moved from door to door, a beautiful spectrum of responses emerged: excitement from some, curiosity from others, and even skepticism here and there. Yet, amidst it all, there were more hands reaching out than he'd anticipated. Each interaction felt like a thread being woven into a massive tapestry of connection. Later that day, the long-anticipated moment arrived: the first community gathering in the park. The sun hung low, casting an ethereal glow over everything, as families arrived, children squealing with delight. Jack stood off to the side, a mix of anxiety and anticipation bubbling within him. But then he saw her, the mother from the parking lot, tentative but hopeful. She approached slowly, her little boy laughing beside her, immersed in the joy around him. "Is this what you meant by not being alone?" she asked softly, her voice trembling. "Because it looks like there's a lot of us here." Jack nodded, feeling emotion swell at the corners of his eyes. "Yes. This is only the beginning. Together, we can create something special." As the conversation flowed easily, laughter filled the air, and the energy shifted into something beautiful and shared. With each story shared, with each laugh exchanged, the community grew closer, more intertwined with the bonds now forged in the fires of empathy and shared experience. Jack took to the makeshift stage, his heart galloping wildly. "Thank you all for being here," he shouted, the vibrant community before him radiating energy. "We're starting this journey together, to lift each other up, to inspire change. We can do this together." That proclamation rippled through the crowd, igniting cheers and applause. But the magic was in the smiles. He saw families laughing, hands clasped, children playing together, as if their worries had been washed away. In that vibrant, fleeting moment, Jack knew they had planted the seeds of transformation, and hope blossomed from the cracks of despair. As the sun dipped below the horizon, wrapping them in twilight, Jack stepped away from the speaking area, heart full and eyes shimmering. People were still chatting, socializing discussions, forming plans for the future. "Jack!" It was Sarah, rushing up beside him. "Look at this. We've got volunteers. People want to help." Joy bubbled inside him. "It's happening, Sarah. It really is." They exchanged a vision filled with purpose, one born not from ambition, but from genuine what if possibilities dancing in their minds. But even amidst all this jubilation, the hard truth rattled in the back of Jack's mind. Were they prepared? Would the foundations they had laid withstand the harsher realities? Yet as he looked back at the faces, each filled with hope, laughter, and determination, he felt far more than just uncertainty. He felt a profound collective strength, an irrefutable sense of community. "You ready for what's next?" Sarah asked, and Jack smiled wide, a strong wave of optimism crashing over him. "Yes," he replied, suddenly confident, bolstered by the warm sense of belonging filling the space around them. "Together, we can face anything." The first seeds had been sown, and they were ready to nurture this garden they had planted. The air buzzed with possibilities, waiting for everyone to embrace the journey ahead. And now, dear friends, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to our channel. Don't miss these powerful transformations. Hit that like button to feed the algorithm and share in the love. We want to hear from you. Leave a comment about your reaction to this inspiring ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to join this movement of hope and community. Your support makes all the difference. Stand with us.